Beijing to Frankfurt, nearly 10 hours across continents on one of the most reliable long-haul workhorses out there, the Boeing 777. 2 full meals, a Yangjing beer and a cabin view or two along the way. Today we are flying Air China, and I will show you exactly what it's like, from the world's second busiest airport all the way to the heart of Germany. Fancy joining me? Welcome to Fly with Dominic.
Hey guys, and ni hao from Beijing Capital Airport. Today I'll be flying all the way back home to Frankfurt with Air China on board their Boeing 777-300ER in economy class. Flight's leaving in more or less 2 hours, so let's head right inside the terminal building in order to check in and get through the immigration, which, well, may take a few more minutes for foreigners than for locals. At least I read about that here in China. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, thank you guys for coming along to today's video, and let's go.
We start at Beijing Capital International Airport Terminal 3. And yes, I do know that I'm standing outside of the domestic departure section, but this is where I got kicked off by my hotel shuttle bus. So let's head inside and look for the international check-in. And wow, I gotta say, this terminal is huge. Designed by Norman Foster, opened for the 2008 Olympics, it's still one of the most impressive terminals in the world, if you ask me. But well, today's flight is Air China Service 931 to Frankfurt. It's scheduled to leave at 1:45 p.m. and the check-in is supposedly located at counters H17 to H32. Of course, Air China have unstaffed self-check-in counters, which I happily try to use. However, as in literally 90% of the time when I'm trying to use these things, my itinerary was not found by the machine. So let's just head to the normal check-in desk. Luckily, Air China's check-in counters were well staffed. Despite arriving just a little after rush hour today, the line moved steadily. Staff were friendly, professional and handled everything with quite efficiency.
Alright, security control is all set, and now it's time to take a shuttle train to get to the satellite terminal with the E-gates, with the international departure gates, where we will also then head through the immigration control. At least I do think that, because, well, I have not been there yet, so I think it's time to get the exit China stamp. By the way, security control took like 5 to 10 minutes, so it wasn't too bad. So yeah, let's wait for the next shuttle train to leave and then head through the immigration control.
Once arrived in the satellite terminal, I gotta say that I really like the spacious architecture. Overall, this is of course not Singapore Changi style, but it's still nice to walk through. On my way to today's gate, E07, which is like a 7-minute walk from the shuttle station, I realized that vending machines here are surprisingly affordable. With Alipay, it's just a scan and go, no fumbling for coins anymore. Nevertheless, for foreigners like me, it was quite a small miracle to get their Alipay account approved back in the days when this report has been recorded. I do hope that it's easier nowadays in 2025. Along the way, I also spotted a Lufthansa Airbus A350-900 aircraft, which should be bound for Munich a little ahead of us. These days, it feels kind of rare to see Lufthansa's old livery, which I still really like, to be honest.
Alright guys, I have finally made it all the way to today's gate E07, from where, yeah, you get an exceptional view on the planes, specifically on today's Boeing 777-300ER. Boarding actually hasn't started yet. As you should know, this is kind of rare, so you know that the boarding process hasn't even started when I made it to the gate, but it should start in any second, I think, as there are still 40 minutes left until scheduled departure. Anyway, so yeah, let's try to get on board as soon as possible, and of course check out the cabin interior in detail right once we settled into our seat.
And finally, here she is, Bravo-2088, a Boeing 777-300ER. The ER stands for Extended Range, as this aircraft can fly over 14,000 kilometers without refueling. Air China operates 28 of these, primarily on their long-haul international network. With its raked wingtips, 6-wheel main gear, and GE90 engines, the largest and most powerful turbofans ever put on a commercial aircraft, at least as of now, the 777 is a serious workhorse. Actually, coming back to the GE90 engines, each one is taller than the cabin ceiling inside. Crazy, right?
And before boarding, I would quickly like to thank today's sponsor of the video, which is, well, myself. So, of course, as always, this report hasn't been sponsored by the airline, so neither by Air China nor by, I don't know, any other company, unfortunately. But anyway, so if you guys want to support me, please make sure to leave a like and also comment underneath this video. And of course, if you don't want to miss any upcoming videos, please also make sure to subscribe to my channel in order to support me. Thank you.
Boarding, however, started perfectly on time and was a pretty smooth process. After getting my boarding pass scanned, it was time to enter through door 2 Lima, which means walking through business class, coming in a slightly outdated 222 layout with lie-flat seats. Economy is in a 343 layout, which is a bit snug in width, but pretty standard for modern 777s.
Alright, I finally settled in on today's seat 41A, which is, well, obviously right next to the window. And at this point, the middle seat is still empty, so let's hope for the very best that it may stay like that, as the gate should be closing in, I think, 1 minute, in 1 or 2 minutes. So yeah, let's hope that it remains empty, so this flight will even be more enjoyable, as it already is at this point. And yeah, so far I can already tell you that the cabin crew seems to be really, really kind and also nice. So let's take first quick look around today's seat.
So legroom is pretty fine for a 10-hour sector like this one from Beijing to Frankfurt. The seat pocket in front is stuffed with various magazines and the safety card of today's Boeing 777. Recline is pretty standard and the flexible headrest is still in good condition. One thing I also really appreciate to see is the footrest in front of me, which is quite rare to see in economy class, as well as the universal power outlets underneath each seat. The IFE system, however, seems to be a little outdated already. Amenity-wise, we got a proper blue blanket, pillow and the usual wired on-ear headphones. The best thing, however, was certainly the empty middle seat between me and my seat neighbor, which is always a jackpot, regardless if we're talking about a short or long-haul flight. By the way, although you may not be able to tell it by the cabin interior in their premium product section, Air China is the flag carrier of China and also Star Alliance member since 2007. They fly to over 200 destinations worldwide and were one of the first Chinese airlines to operate scheduled long-haul flights to Europe decades ago. But now it's finally time to enjoy the takeoff.
Dear all passengers, our plane will be taken off shortly. Please confirm that you is safely fastened. Your mobile phone remains switched off or set to airplane mode. Thank you.
Shortly after takeoff, the first drinks run. Soft drinks, juices, wine and beer, all served with a smile by today's charming cabin crew. As you can see here, I went for a water and a Coke Zero. Cheers! Right afterwards, in slightly bumpy conditions, lunch has been served. And I got to say that it certainly doesn't look too bad. For main dish, we got served a beef stew with white rice, and for me, as a German, unidentifiable vegetables, looking like a zucchini maybe, but I think you guys can help me out. It was coming along a warm bread roll with butter, which was sadly unsalted, as well as a salad with lightly pickled vegetables featuring carrots and chickpeas. And finally, some assorted melons for dessert, all served with good old plastic cutlery, as if there would be an alternative in economy class. But well, presentation is tidy, portion size is respectable, no tiny mystery portions here, it's a full tray setup. So let's finally dig into the salad, which was surprisingly delicious and well seasoned. The melons, however, completely lacked any sweetness and were also quite watery. The bread roll with butter was okayish, but I really don't get why some airlines use unsalted butter without also handing out some salt as well. But let's finish up with the most important part of this meal, the beef stew, which was surprisingly good, although you cannot really tell it by my face. After lunch, I went for a Yangjing beer, which was rather light but still not too bad for a Chinese beer, although, of course, nothing beats Tsingtao. Soon enough, it was time to call it a day and roll down the window blinds in order to let the other passengers get some sleep.
Alright, hello from the center laboratory of today's Boeing 777. How's this flight so far? Being honest, it's quite enjoyable. I somehow managed it to sleep for like 2 hours once the lunch service has been finished. Well, mostly this is due to the empty middle seat, so I can, like stretch out a little. But part of that, crew is also doing a fantastic job. The meal service was alright, at least the first one, still waiting for the second meal service. So far this flight's quite enjoyable, so let's take a closer look through the lavatory itself.
Making a long story short, this is a standard 777 layout. Compact but functional. Cleanliness was still very good, which after several hours and nearly 300 passengers is impressive. So no surprise upgrades here, but also no horror stories either. By the way, we are currently cruising at Mach 0.84. That's about 900 kilometers an hour over the vast expanse of Siberia. So, fun fact at this point, the 777 was the first commercial jet to be fully designed using computer-aided design software back in the early 90s. No paper blueprints, no guesswork, all digital from day one. The only thing I, as an Airbus fanboy, still miss is the side stick in the cockpit. But I am seriously not sure if we are ever going to see that on a civil Boeing manufactured aircraft. Oh well, I can't wait for the hate from the Boeing lovers in the comment section. Sorry in advance. Anyway, about 2 hours before landing in Frankfurt, the cabin crew kicked off the second in-flight meal service. This time, for main dish, we were served fried yakisoba noodles with thinly sliced beef and various vegetables. Coming along a salad with a grapefruit dressing, which is something I have certainly not tried out beforehand, as well as some sort of jelly yogurt with red beans, and finally another bread roll with unsalted butter. So this isn't just a snack before landing, as many European airlines like to handle it, it's actually a proper second meal, which is always welcome on long-haul economy flights. So let's get that dressing on the salad and give it a try. As you can see, not bad. The dessert, however, was certainly not up to my taste. Nor were the yakisoba noodles, which were really chewy, and also the beef contained some cartilage. Soon enough, however, meal trays have been collected by the cabin crew and we began our descent into Frankfurt. So it was time to enjoy the view outside and to reconsider about what happened during the last trip. In my eyes, there is nothing better than the feeling of being grateful for the experiences I was able to collect during a journey.
各位旅客，飞机马上就要着陆了，请您再次确认系好您的安全带，谢谢。Dear all passengers, our plane will be landing shortly. Please confirm that your seatbelt fastened. Thank you.
And here's one more fact for the nerds. Air China's Phoenix logo is also a clever design trick. If you look closely, it forms the letters VIP. Subtle branding, but a nice touch. Walking through the forward cabin one last time, business class still looks tempting, but I will stick to my economy ticket for now. And after saying 谢谢, 再见 to the cabin crew with a really strong German accent, it's finally time for a quick sum up of today's flight. Air China's CA931 delivered a solid long-haul experience. Friendly cabin crew, 2 proper in-flight meal services, and a comfortable seat for economy, with, however, an outdated IFE system. No flashy, not over the top, but reliable. And sometimes that's exactly what you want on a flight this long. But finally, it's time to say thank you guys for watching this video until the very end. I wish everyone out there an amazing day and see you on the next one. Cheers!